I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Wednesday, October 26th. Let's start today by beginning a countdown. It's 13 days until the end of this infernal reality TV show we know as Election 2016. The news today is mostly that the polls are uniformly showing Hillary Clinton with solid leads nationwide, perhaps even an unprecedented electoral vote sweep. That's knocking on wood. I think it's bad luck to say those sorts of things. The Trump campaign is busy putting out some skewed information about the effect of Obamacare on insurance increases, not nearly so bad as they depict, and still trying to mine WikiLeaks for some gold that they can turn into election powerhouse issue for them. They haven't found it yet, but there's 13 days is still a very long time. I'm sorry to report that we got some further information yesterday about the horrendous child abuse case in Fort Smith. A man who's been a foster parent was accused and pleaded guilty to 5 of 11 charges that he'd sexually abused or raped foster children in his care over 15 years as a foster parent for Arkansas. He adopted one child with the state's approval. He was allowed to continue to be a foster parent, as was his wife, despite multiple reports of allegations of sexual abuse, some that were founded to be true on the front end by investigators. The horror of this story is that the state officials at the highest level are refusing to talk about this. They say that the law that protects child cases is meant to ensure confidentiality of the children, so they're using that law, which is supposed to protect children, to cover up their actions in failing to protect children. I've asked Governor Hutchinson for a response on this. So far, he's had none. The state owes the state an explanation for how a system went so badly wrong on this, if for no other reason, so that it doesn't happen again. Senator Bart Hester, a Republican senator from Northwest Arkansas, floated a plan today to cut income taxes by $105 million. Easy to throw tax cuts around that way. It's harder to realize. I don't think he'll have broad support for this, but there's going to be pressure for a tax cut. The governor certainly wants to supply one. We're in a state that is currently not running a surplus. There's no extra money to give away. We're in a state that is not yet prepared to approve a budget that meets the cost of living increases to operate the education system, and constitutionally we're supposed to provide an adequate education, which means whatever it costs we're supposed to do it. Just recently the legislator wanted to add $20 million of special education spending because we're falling that far short of meeting the needs that were being served. Hard to see where there's a $100 million cut coming from that. Hester says he's confident things are going to grow. Hester is, you'll remember, one of the leaders of the legislative effort to make sure that Arkansas law discriminates against LGBT people. It gives a religious exception for discrimination, and it bans local governments from providing civil rights protection to LGBT people. You might know that in the last week, hundreds more jobs were lost in North Carolina because it has precisely such laws. Hard to see how Arkansas is going to grow economically with both those laws and some of the other problems we have to deal with. The Working Families Party has said it's going to spend $80,000 against French Hill, the congressman from the 2nd District, a Republican, former banker. He's voted in the bank's interest on the Finance Committee in the House and against consumers, and they think that's a bad thing. $80,000 is a pittance against the more than $800,000 French Hill has raised from the banking interest to get reelected. He probably will be reelected, but Diane Curry's running as a Democrat, and she's standing up for working party's interest, and so she's going to have at least a little bit of support for her underfinanced campaign. News from Garland County today. They've filed 6 felony charges against a former top aide of the county judge down there. They found that over a period of, at least 4 years, she'd spent more than $360,000 in county money charging personal expenses to the county credit card. They included a doggy tuxedo for what was described in the indictment as a pug. I think I found she actually bought a tuxedo for a bulldog, and it's a good opportunity to run a picture of a bulldog in a tuxedo, if nothing else. One of my favorite pastimes is dressing up smush-faced dogs. Good news from the Court of Appeals today for Jane Sexton, the widow of Bud Planchin, a former Springdale firefighter who died of colon cancer a couple of years ago. He'd been fighting for 5 years to get full disability benefits for a disease that he said was work-related. At least 4 doctors thought there was a pretty good case for him to make that his cancer was caused by exposure to carcinogens as a firefighter, but the Police and Fire Pension Board refused to give him full job-related disability benefits. The Court of Appeals said today they set that standard too high, and she's going to get another hearing on that money. It's long overdue. Little Rock Police Department still hasn't told us much about the fatal shooting last night of a man on 8th Street. They've identified him. He was Roy Lee Richards, somebody that had some small past brushes with the law, including one domestic battery issue. The police have said that when they arrived on the scene, Richards was pointing a long gun, a rifle or a shotgun at his uncle, and they engaged him, as the saying went. They haven't provided more details than that, but as yet still nobody has raised an allegation that the police acted improperly in shooting a man who was pointing a gun at his uncle. And finally, here's a piece of news for you. Arby's, the fast food chain, says it's going to start selling deer sandwiches in 6 states that are known to like deer hunting. One of those is not Arkansas. Don't tell me this means we like to kill them more than we like to eat them. I do know some people with freezers full of well-aged venison. Anyway, that's it for me today. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.